my name is Danielle Frisse, and I'm here today to talk to you about the ever-looming question of should you wake your baby? First of all, we've been studying it in class, the importance of sleep in all ages, but of course, especially during early infancy, whenever the first connections in the brain are really being met together. On top of my research, I have a little bit of personal opinion on this, as I have a 6-month-old right now, who in the first couple months, she did fight sleep very well. It was her favorite activity to do. So today, what I'm going to cover is why the myth sounds so good, the old wives' tale of what it is, the safest way for your baby to sleep, whether it's co-sleeping or co-bedding or on their own, some ways to try to help your baby get to sleep, ask the question, are fussy babies actually more intelligent than their drowsy counterparts, and finally, why you should wake the baby. Now, here's why the saying tends to sound so true. According to our books, babies need 16 to 18 hours of sleep per day as newborns. So, why would you want to wake your baby up? They need all this sleep, right? According to my research, the sleep-awake patterns of newborns and infants actually depicts how their sleep organization will be going on for later in their lives. Even though at-risk babies, such as premature, born to teenage mothers, or have other health problems, their development actually isn't that different from other babies when it comes to their sleep patterns. We also, as we've learned in class, we all know that the body rejuvenates itself and grows in the sleep, but also according to my research, what scientists tend to believe is that according to my research also, scientists tend to believe that the growth hormone is secreted during non-REM sleep. Babies don't really actually dream, they believe. It's just straight brain development of their brains memorizing what they've gone over through the experiences of that day. And moreover, and I can personally attribute to this, it gives exhausted parents a break. Whenever parents are well rested, they are more attentive to their babies and better adjusted to care for their babies. So sometimes they might let babies sleep a little longer than they necessarily should. Alright, and now that I've discussed why sleep is so important and why the myth sounds so true, I'm going to be talking about some safe ways for your baby to sleep. The most common and easiest ways to avoid things like SIDS and infant injury during sleep is to make sure they sleep alone. Make sure they sleep on their backs. Make sure there's no extra bedding and toys. Infants don't need 2 comforters and 16 stuffed animals. Also make sure they're in a room with moving air. That can help their breathing. And make sure the room's also not too hot. Finally, also make sure that they are wearing about the same amount of clothing as you are. That way you know about how comfortable they are with the temperature in the house. And now that I've covered how to keep a baby sleeping safely, I'm going to talk about the differences between co-sleeping, co-bedding, and whether they should sleep alone. Obviously, if it's not safe, babies should sleep alone, as in the Western world, but there's a difference between co-sleeping and co-bedding. This is an example of co-bedding, having your infant in the bed with you. As you can see, there's a nice big fluffy comforter here, right in between the parents. Either one of them could very easily roll over the child. There's some fluffy pillows. Their head could fall right in between it, and you wouldn't even know it in your sleep. So, sudden infant death syndrome is pretty much caused by this. There was an influx in infant death, and so they started pushing for babies to sleep alone instead of co-bedding with their parents. Like I said, no extra bedding, In many other countries, co-sleeping is actually the norm, but the difference for them is that they don't have all the extra bedding like we do. Their beds are closer to the ground, so the infants have less a chance of falling off. And usually the whole family tends to share one room, which means the baby alone and by their crib in the other room just isn't an option. Co-sleeping babies are actually said to be able to help regulate themselves better with sleep-awake times in accordance with their parents. It makes them feel more comfortable, which does have its benefits. Also, according to my research, both mother and child get more restful sleep whenever they co-sleep instead of co-bed. They're able to monitor each other and interact a little bit more with their sleep and awake times. Even though they are awake and asleep more, they feel more rested overall. This is an example of co-sleeping opposed to co-bedding earlier. Baby's in its own safe little area over here away from the bed and all the bedding where it can't fall off. But now that we've gone over ways to help a baby sleep safely, how do you get your baby to go to sleep? A little bit of music you heard at the beginning I personally use with a YouTube video to help mine, which tend to help, but there's other ways. Make sure the lighting's low, like I said, soft music, and of course, always make sure that the baby is fed and dry. Wet diapers very easily wake up infants. That was one of my daughter's biggest problems. And their sleep-awake cycles, especially during very early infancy, are dictated more by their hunger cues opposed to light cues, as it says in our books. At the end of the day, co-sleeping or putting your baby in next to the bed with you to soothe them is a very common thing. You just have to make sure you're doing it safely. But having a fussy baby might not actually be a bad thing. If a baby, or a fussy baby's more intelligent, whenever you're awake, they're being more exposed to parent interactions, they're having more experiences in the world, seeing, witnessing more things, hearing more words, so they're actually learning more compared to their drowsy counterparts. These babies might actually have more developed central nervous system, which will cause them to reflex more and react to their outside world and stimulus, keeping them awake for longer also. But sadly, difficult babies that are aroused easier tend to be victim to poor parenting habits due to the exhaustion level of the parents and patient levels. Alright, lastly, I want to go over why you should wake your baby up. I said earlier, newborn infancy, eating is very important. They should be woken at least every 4 hours to be fed if they don't wake up on their own. So there's one really good time to wake up your baby. A couple other ones is for, like I said, to get your interaction with people, to promote their learning, their mental development, physical development, and for their brains to grow. Also, some babies are born with a night-day confusion. Usually their sleep patterns tend to reflect that of their mothers while they were in utero, and a lot of mothers tend to have insomnia problems or just sleeping problems in general due to discomfort whenever they're pregnant. So when the baby's born, it's used to being up at night and sleeping during the day. Also, if your child's on a sleep schedule and you're differing from it, you might have to wake them up to get them to stick closer to their sleep schedule if they're varying from it for whatever reason. Alright, so today I covered why this saying, "Never wake a sleeping baby," sounds so good, how you can help your baby sleep safely, the difference between co-bedding and co-sleeping, how to help your baby go to sleep, and how a fussy baby might actually be a good thing. But at the end of the day, I really feel like this is a myth. It's fictional. I feel like it's busted. There's most definitely times when you should wake your baby up, like I said, and at the end of the day, your baby might actually be smarter for waking up more. So, thank you.